Hello, everyone. Jason Hagholm here, and back again with another edition of Jason and the Gentleman. And as always, to do the show with me, the gentleman of mixed martial arts, the gentleman Josh Hill. Josh, how are you doing? It's a long weekend in Canada, one that sometimes you get time and you forget it's a holiday.
I forgot it was even Monday today, bro. Where were they doing this thing? I'm just hanging out, and I'm like, oh shit! I thought today was Sunday. Yeah, man, I'm good. We're just chilling, and not a whole lot cracking right now. Just enjoying some recovery time, and yeah. How about yourself?
Yeah, man, just enjoying as much as I can of this always surprise holiday weekend in August that every year it comes around. I forget we have a holiday, but I'm so glorious for it.
Yeah, I'll take a holiday any time of the month, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Josh, though, it was quite a busy weekend in MMA, more so with the world centered around the promotion that's on your hat right there, Bellator, mixed martial arts, as they had arguably their biggest show of the Scott Coker era, and one where there was a lot of hype going into the fight. And while we didn't get a war or anything like that, I think all in all, the end result is something Bellator couldn't have wished for more so. In a great performance by AJ McKee to get a first round submission victory over Patricio Pitbull, becoming not only the featherweight champion, but the winner of their featherweight Grand Prix, and the man to take the featherweight title off Patricio since like over 1,500 days. So that's crazy. And all in all, Bellator is a superstar on their hands.
Yeah, man, that was crazy. This was definitely, I think, the most anticipated fight in the promotion as of, and like I said, the Coker era anyway. Two of the top featherweights in the world. The bracket, I had them at each end of the bracket, and they just didn't think it would actually, come to fruition of them actually meeting the finals, but it did. And yeah, like I said, the only thing that I guess you could have asked for more if it was like a 5-round back and forth war, that we just saw an amazing fight. But I guess second best would be like just how good McKee looked and to finish Pitbull in under 2 minutes. So impressive, man, because that's obviously crazy hard to do. Not many people have done it. And set him up with the head kick, wobbled him, dropped him with an uppercut. Almost looked like it was over, and then grabs his neck when he's kind of out of it, and then puts him out. And man, just that was insane.
It was insane. Like the crowd reaction was everything, and just the place going insane. Like I'm happy that we had the finals of the Grand Prix in 2021 and not 2020, because that moment without fans would have just it definitely made it feel a little bit more flat. But I mean, like if Bellator is going to have, I guess, a flashback kind of feel to like the old Strikeforce days, that was the moment right there where you could just feel a monumental new name breaking through, and just how he did it, as you said, like the head kick could have done it. He stepped away too, like he thought it was over then, which 9 times out of 10 is a recipe for disaster, but was able to just sink the choke in and make Pitbull go to sleep.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he stepped away. He obviously rocked him with the kick. And that was, Pitbull's a short guy for that division, right? He's about my height. And McGee's a taller, longer guy, and he's also southpaw, where Pitbull's an orthodox fighter. And so that nice rear left head kick lines up nicely against an orthodox guy, especially a shorter guy. And yeah, man, perfectly placed. And you can see he set it up so nice. I see Robin Black already did a breakdown of it, and he does those things well. Or he does throw it his left hand as he throws the left head kick. It kind of hides it. It's a little disguise, and it's kind of sneaky. And that's what he caught him with perfectly. And you can see Pitbull was trying to slip off to his right and hit him pretty nicely. And then the uppercut is what dropped him actually against the cage. And I thought it was done there too. And McKee did too. And he was just trying to hope for that, walk off. That's it. But Pitbull's just so tough, man. You got to put him unconscious to finish him. And then he, that's what he did.
Yeah, absolutely. And it climaxes this featherweight Grand Prix. And I guess when you look at, like, there's been many tournaments and Grand Prix in mixed martial arts, but I don't think I've seen a dominant performance by someone in a Grand Prix or a tournament since like Shogun back in Pride.
Yeah. Like his racket. I mean, the whole racket was stacked, you know what I mean? But like he beat all those 4 guys. They were all killers, but he also finished all of them, which is insane. Like Georgie Karkian was a killer who won that night as well.
Yeah, in 8 seconds to get into the tournament.
Yeah, and then he beat Darren Caldwell in that crazy submission. And he beat who was the other one?
He beat Derek Campos. That one actually went into the 3rd round, but he got the victory done there.
Yeah,
and then now he finishes Pitbull in the 1st round. So 4 fights for this tournament, and 3 of them end in the 1st round. Like I said, I don't think we've seen anything like this since Shogun back in Pride in 05.
No, man, and like you see some tournaments sometimes in regional shows and whatnot where guys can kind of walk through and just kill guys, but they're not fighting top level competition, world class guys, and he is, man. So to do that is just super impressive, and he's so confident. You know, he believes in himself so much, and he has the skill set to back it up, and a guy that's been literally raised in Bellator. Like he's had all his fights, 18-0. Yeah, man, it's he's an argument to he's the number 1 featherweight in the world right now. I would say Pitbull was there. You know, obviously you got Volkanovski and Ortega and Holloway. I would say it's those 5 in the top 5 in the world.
I think there's no denying, especially how you put away Pitbull, who had been so dominant at that weight class in Bellator pretty much since 2018, 2017, when he last won the title against Daniel Strauss. So I would definitely put McKee there. And I guess that kind of leads to McKee at the post-fight was saying, you know, any featherweight, whether you're in the UFC, ONE, PFL, like, come on down. And I know Bellator is always open to this, and it's exciting. I don't think it'll ever happen, but I mean, good for him, I guess, McKee to just stoke the interest of and help, I guess, still reignite 145.
Yeah, I mean, all MMA fans, real MMA fans, would love to see that happen. You know, any cross promotion. You know, you'll see it. Bellator's done it with Ryzen, which is awesome, but I don't think you'll see it happen with UFC. I think just the UFC. You know, they don't even like mentioning other. They finally did recently, like with the Chandler thing. They did mention, you know, Bellator champ, blah blah blah. Which usually though they never say that word.
No, it's always outside organization champ.
Yeah, they won't ever mention another promotion at all. You know what I mean? But yeah, I just don't see them doing it. You know, because I guess it's more of a risk for them than it is for Bellator, because if a Bellator guy comes over and beats one of their top guys, then it just it'll make their promotion look bad if they're known as the number 1 promotion in the world. But it would be amazing because Bellator, PFL, and ONE have, you know, some of the best guys in the world. They're not all just in the UFC roster, right? As you can see with McGee, right? So it would be awesome, man.
I mean, it'd be awesome. It's just the structure of the sport, how it works out. Like you're under an organization banner. It's not like boxing where you're in some other, you know, for some other W alphabet soup type of title, you could potentially do it. It's just you're signed on a 3-fight whatever deal for PFL. You can't make that happen unless, you know, miracles happen. And I know Bellator has always been talking and open about this idea forever, but it just doesn't work out for that. But if you're Bellator, just focus on McKee, because he's like now really the face of your company. I know Scott Coker was saying at the post-fight presser that he may be the guy to get them back on CBS. And I don't think it's going to happen right away, but you get a McKee, have another fight, whether, you know, his first title defense, or if he goes up to 155 to take on Pitbull again and say he wins that title, then you start the momentum of getting MMA back on CBS.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not a network type guy, so I don't know. CBS, they were on CBS at one already, right? So.
Well, I mean, MMA was on there for sure, whether it was Elite XC Strike Force, but it's been almost 10 years, and I think you're always wanting to get the most eyeballs, especially if you're a Bellator promotion, right?
CBS have tons of eyeballs. Are they better than?
It's a network. It's a major network, right? So it's like ABC, NBC. So everyone pretty much has an affiliate in their state, so it's easy access, which I get why. Whereas Showtime, you know, in the States, in Showtime, you have to subscribe and pay money for that channel. Where, you know, here in Canada, it's been great with this YouTube thing. Like, not having a TV deal has been fantastic in a way where you can just watch this card whenever, rewatch it whenever you want. It's just free. Yeah, exactly. But obviously, the States is where they're trying to make their most impact. And they have a guy now, and I think just a couple other fights, and I just love the intrigue too. That if he goes up to 155 and try to take Pitbull title there, I mean that just sells in itself.
Yeah, man, a rematch.
A rematch, a weight class up too.
Weight class up, yeah. I mean, imagine he beat him again and took both his belts. That'd be insane. Or imagine he beats him at 55. It's a great option to have for sure. And yeah, man, I think the Bellator should capitalize on using McKee. They have, I think I said, in the last few years, man, they've just signed so many awesome guys and top talent, and it's starting to kind of unfold now. And you're seeing all these guys kind of break out and become not just diehard MMA fans, like household names, but even the casual and the UFC fan, they're starting to take notice too.
I think this is where the benefit from Bellator being on Showtime is going to help out, because we've already seen them kind of marketing McKee at some of like the boxing events and whatever, like him getting the focus on there. And now, coming off winning a Grand Prix and becoming the featherweight champion, undefeated, and Showtime's in the market of also building stars, especially from their boxing division. And I think that's just a win-win for Bellator, and especially the McKee name, because I mean, like, his dad was a fighter as well and was known as one of the most boring guys, but was one of the most talented guys. And, Antonio himself said that AJ's like the spawn and the ability to get his revenge for, the not getting the opportunities that Antonio had. Well, now AJ's definitely going to be getting them.
Well, yeah, I mean, just think of like how good you can be from your dad already kind of paving the way and knowing, the ins and outs of the game, knowing what works, what doesn't. And then his dad also evolving with the sport. And now, AJ kind of raised in that evolution of the sport. So, yeah, it's crazy. He's the start, well, not the start, but we've already seen it, but he's one of the products that you'll see as like this sport continues to evolve, where guys started training at like 6 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Instead of doing it after they stopped, like myself, playing hockey, or after somebody stopped wrestling. You know what I mean? They're just going to be bred killers from the get-go. And yeah, he's definitely one of them. He's only 26 years old. Like it's crazy how young he is too, man. Like, it's just still a pup in the game.
Yeah. I think, after the show, I was just searching some stuff about AJ, and I found, like, I guess Antonio was trying to pitch a reality show about like the life of a fighter and, being a family man. And there's little AJ at 10, in the gym, just, absorbing all the information that he can absorb. And now just look at, where he is, and one of the arguably right now pound for pound best featherweight in the world, and quickly has become the face of Bellator. And it's nice to me for Bellator to have someone like that. Like, I know Coker originally, when he took over, they had the freak show fights and the legend fights, which they brought some names in, but there's no longevity in there because there's still guys that have, they're past their prime or whatever. This is a guy fresh and ready for, 4 to 5 years of success with this promotion.
Yeah. And you're seeing that now, like I was saying, all the new signings and whatnot. It's not just like Bellator at one point, they just kind of took kind of older UFC fighters that still had a name and kind of tried to utilize that. You know what I mean? I mean, some people still want to see it, of course, but I think now, they're getting away from that, and they're signing free agents. They're signing, the up and coming prospects, and they got a whole stable now of killers. Look at the roster. Look at the women's strawweight champ now. Look at Nemkov as the light heavyweight champ. There's just so many guys on the up and coming. The guy that just beat Lima, Arsov. So yeah, they're just breeding these guys, and then look at the card like they had on the weekend. Like, it was stacked, man, and they had some good fights, and some guys that had really good performances that are that are going to be stars. Like what's his name? Little brother,
Zabit's younger brother. Yeah,
he looks good, and that other Nurmagomedov.
Yep.
Pretty much all the Dagestani guys are taking over. And what's his name too? That in the co-main event that beat Emmanuel.
Mads Burnell, yeah.
Mads Burnell, man, yeah. I've never seen that guy fight before, and I knew, anybody, you're facing Sanchez is a tough match, right? But yeah, he impressed me, man. He looked really good.
Yeah, Matt's like, I think that was going to be my next point is as well, like there was hype and intrigue and really wanted to see the main event. I thought that card delivered, especially the main card when the fans started to come in for the main card there in Inglewood. But yeah, like let's just get to it. The other featherweight fight, Emmanuel Sanchez, Mads Burnell. Like Mads Burnell, a guy that went 1-2 in the UFC, got cut after a loss to Arnold Allen, who's like one of the most like successful guys and had one of the longest win streaks. And then, he comes in from Cage Warriors after, having some success there. And I thought round one of that fight was just fantastic. It was like out of a video game, just back and forth, rock'em sock'em robot style. And then, rest of the fight was close. The judges gave it 29-28 to Burnell. But for Burnell coming in here, coming from Denmark and one of the European guys, this was the type of fight you needed, because at the press conference, there were obviously questions for McKee and Pitbull and Sanchez, but very little questions for Burnell. Well, now Burnell shows what he can do in the cage. He's got an exciting style of fight, and he just beat one of the most durable 145ers that Bellator has.
Yeah. I mean, I'm one of those. I didn't know he was in the UFC either. I knew he was a European guy, but I hadn't seen him fight, so I didn't really know what to expect from him. But yeah, I was super, super impressed. Great boxing. He definitely pushed the pace and came forward, and it's hard to do against a guy like Sanchez. And he stayed in that pocket, and he did a lot of rolling and slipping, and his boxing looked good. But even on the mat, man, like he looked very, very slick. The one position he went for something and got a little bit overzealous, and Manuel kind of switched the positions, and then immediately you could see him like kind of pissed off about that, and he went back to his half guard, and he just got the sweep right back and ended up back up on top. He looked good, man, and I think it's he beat Sanchez, so like he's got to fight somebody at the top now next as well.
Yeah, he's definitely in the running for potentially a shot against McKee. I mean, I know these promotions kind of like to keep these guys that are on the same cards eventually back towards the next one. But yeah, Burnell's definitely in the running. I don't know if you want to give him the shot right away after that was just his Bellator debut, but I wouldn't hate on it. I mean, Usman Nurmagomedov looked fantastic as well. And I mean, Khabib went 3-0 on that show, and quickly is becoming coach of the year. It was awesome kind of seeing him with the Bellator shirt on. And Bellator made sure they put that on camera a lot. But Nurmagomedov, like he landed that devastating knee to the liver that just dropped his opponent there in Manny Murrow, and moves to 13-0 and like probably number one contender for the lightweight title at this point.
Shit, dude. Yeah, I mean, he's up there anyway. I mean, the other guy that had a good showing at lightweight was against my boy, unfortunately.
Yamauchi.
Yamauchi against Chris. Yeah, I mean, I know how good of a wrestler is Chris is, and I know that Yamauchi is a great jiu-jitsu guy, but I still thought you'd be able to nullify it, kind of take him down and ground and pound him. But I mean, Chris didn't go to his wrestling at all, which would kind of surprise me. But on the feet, that Yamauchi, he looked good, man. He looked really good, and that landed a nice straight right and kind of ended the night for Chris. But he's another top contender. I know he was ranked high already, but he's a guy that could be up there as well.
Yeah, Yamauchi's been with Bellator for a long time through many variations. Has fought for a title there in Bellator, but I thought this was the best he's ever looked. Like, because Chris looked fantastic against Roger Huerta, and sure, Roger may be past his prime, but that's still a durable veteran of the sport that Chris was able to kind of manhandle. And I thought maybe he'd have kind of the same success if he was able to use his wrestling, but Yamauchi was able to shut any of that down and just showcase his striking and put him away. Yeah,
dude. Again, very, very shocked with that one. Even though I guess just probably because I had a personal interest in it, but he was impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good card to see, like the up and comers, like whether you're, the Dagestani guys, the Magomed Sharapovs, the Nurmagomedovs. I mean, Bellator. We've talked about this pretty much since this show started. The Bellator 2.0, so from the pandemic over, where they're cutting some guys, signing some up and coming prospects. And you can kind of see the fruits of that labor starting to pay off. And going towards the end of this year is going to be interesting. And going especially into 2022, it's going to be how much more can they improve and garner some eyes on this promotion.
Yeah, yeah, man. They're on the right track. They're doing things well, and gaining a lot of momentum and credibility and fans. Basically, I know there's still like those diehard UFC fans that like fuck Bellator, that won't watch Bellator. But I think you're seeing less and less of them. They're just people that want to see good fights, and Bellator has that. It has a lot of good fighters. So yeah, I think you'll expect more big things by the end of this year and going into 2022.
Yeah, I mean, even like their first fight, the first couple of fights, like Georgia Karahanian, I think him getting a win there is good because I think he's a guy that they have had forever in that promotion, and him having success is good for that lightweight division. And then Brian Moore with a big win to kick things off. So another European type guy, one of the Irish guys from SBG.
Yeah, I watched that one. Obviously, bantamweight. I was interested. He was supposed to fight Scoggins, which I was excited to see. Just because I know Scoggins very durable, tough guy. Brian's got good striking, so I was interested to see if Scoggins, would take it to the mat and see how it played out there. But the guy that he fought, Winsky.
Yeah, not a Winsky for Jordan Winsky.
No, I mean, that guy filled in, I think, on 2 weeks' notice or something like that. So I was just kind of like, that I don't know how this is going to go for him, but tough dude, But you can tell the skill set wasn't on the same level as Moore.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought Moore looked fantastic, and I think the big intrigue is Bellator's back in about a week now. So they have the show on Friday, August 13th, where their middleweight championships on the line. John Salter's challenging Gegard Mousasi for that. So let's see what Bellator can do to help, garner some more interest, or if the interest from that card carries over to a little bit more extra eyeballs. I know it's on a Friday, going head to head with a PFL card to kick off their playoffs, which, as we've talked about, I don't like those two promotions going on the same night, but that's unfortunately the way the cookie crumbles there. But we'll see, and it's probably the last show for a long time in Unkinsville.
We'll see. I mean, I kind of hope so, just because it changes scenery. That's nothing wrong with the Mohegan Sun's awesome, very nice place. Yeah, just a change of scenery, you know what I mean? But we'll see what happens with all this bullshit, and if they start closing places down again and whatnot, then that might just be the fallback to, it's a place where they know they have it kind of mastered there. But hopefully not. Hopefully they keep continuing to expand and go to the places they plan on going.
Yeah, hopefully so. I mean, they have a show towards the end of August in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And then they have, obviously, the show in October in Russia, which is the big one that they're
Ireland in November.
Yeah, in Ireland in November. And then Phoenix for the October for the continuation of their light heavyweight Grand Prix.
Right. Which is another good top two fights in that card. So yeah, man, they're branching out and going all different places, which is good to see again finally.
Absolutely. And I think the lacklusterness of that UFC card in terms of name power and having a bunch of fights fall out and the build up to it and then lose two fights at the weigh-ins. I gave you kind of a free pass to watch this Bellator show, but as we transition over to that UFC show, Josh, while these cards that you have no expectation for, they always deliver, whether with exciting fights and great action, and that's exactly what we got on Saturday from the UFC, where most people I know were probably watching this Bellator card, but UFC they always put on events every weekend, and they put one on here with Uriah Hall in the main event taking on Sean Strickland. And a huge win for Sean Strickland, was really just able to manhandle Uriah Hall for all 5 rounds.
Didn't get to see it. I don't have the two dual TV set up, so I was watching the Bellator card. I just, from what I read and what I seen, some little highlights and stuff. It was pretty one-sided. I take it, and which is surprising. I wasn't counting out Strickland to win, but I thought it would be a much more evenly matched, fight.
Yeah, especially kind of the momentum that Hall had been on. Sure, he had an unfortunate, broken leg for his opponent Weidman beforehand, but he was able to have his way with Anderson Silva towards the end of last year. But good for Strickland. This is a guy that's really been able to put a solid string of wins together. He's now 24-3 as a pro with wins over Hall now, Brendan Allen. He finished Brendan Allen, who's like one of the up and comer guys there. So, and as well, he's a very interesting personality. Said a lot of, always has an interesting quote. I believe he said something along the lines of, I guess he may kill someone in the octagon. I don't know if you want to be saying things like that, but he's always got some great quote out there.
Yeah, I seen somebody post that. I don't know if it was like a sarcastic quote that you can't really tell off of without context. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Who knows, man? Like, people just say shit just to get attention, or I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, some of his quotes, I guess, about like the upcoming generation with, them just focusing on TikTok and whatnot compared to when he was a kid growing up, I agree with. Like, those are fine quotes. I agree with him there.
I totally agree with that, yeah.
But let's not talk about murdering someone or killing someone in the UFC or in the octagon. Like, that would be maybe the death of the sport. That's the last thing we need right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's never a good thing in any sport. You don't want to see death.
No.
If you do, you I don't know, you're a sick fuck. You got some issues, that's for sure. Especially in one where we're doing everything up, as close as you can get to that point, almost, hurting people. So yeah, we don't need anybody dying.
No, not at all. But I mean, good win for Strickland, and was nice to see Aaron Jeffrey in his corner, who's fighting the Contender Series. Was former BTC middleweight champion, and yeah, as I said, he's got a fight in October, towards the end of October, on the Contender Series, trying to finally secure that UFC contract. I think
it's September. I'm pretty sure.
September. You are right.
Yeah.
Yes,
but yeah, that's AJ needed that, man. You look at the higher up in weight class you go in Canada, the less talent and less training partners you have, right? So I think a move out to Vegas and training with Strickland, I think it's a great move for him.
And all those killers at Syndicate too, right?
Yeah, it's a great room for him, and a guy like Strickland will be very beneficial for his career for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, the other thing, so Cheyenne Baze, who we called her fight when she was in BTC, so she had a sensational knockout, first round head kick knockout against her opponent there in Gloria DePaula. But she was awarded the bonus of fight of the night, so she got $50,000. And when they told her, she had this, reaction of complete shock because she wasn't expecting. But before that, she was saying she's negative in her bank account. And I mean, understand to live the dream is very expensive. But once again, it's just the whole talk of fighter pay. Like, how can someone in the UFC have no money, and yet like now they're getting life-changing money, and how they're presenting this is like we're doing them a favor. But I don't know. It's just once again, fighter pay them more, especially in the UFC.
Yeah, man, we've talked about it before, right? Like it's 50 grand bonus. That's awesome. Don't get me wrong, that's great. But like, you shouldn't have to be like, without that, she probably wouldn't have made any money, to be honest. Because she said she was. I watched the little interview of it, and said she was minus 15 grand in debt, blah blah blah, and then say she got 10 and 10, so there's 20 grand minus your taxes off that. And then minus your commission to your management, minus your coaching and whoever you're paying for your training partners and whatnot. And then, obviously the actual camp itself, your nutrition, your maintenance of your body, all like that, your travel, you're not making nothing, basically after that. So that's why I always talk about, if you're like, I hope maybe it'll change in the years to come, but like you sign to a promotion, major promotion, you're guaranteed this amount per year. You know what I mean? And then every time you fight, you have an opportunity to make more money or a bonus or whatnot. And then you can have finishing incentives, stuff like that. That's fine. But yeah, you should be getting like a yearly base salary, something like that, something that's guaranteed, something that, like, I'm just throwing a number out there. You get 100 grand a year just to train. That's your job. You train, get ready for fights, accept fights when we give them to you if you're uninjured or if you can do it, whatever. But yeah, that's got to be like the new standard of eventually going forward, because I know so many people that are broke. This sport's not one to get into to make a lot of money. But it's tough.
I mean, I agree. Do something. Something has to be done differently. The show win, I think, is past the archaic stage right now in MMA. Got to get rid of it. But UFC has to stop presenting it that they're doing their fighters a favor. Like they really do. It's turning into just like the fight. It's charity almost, and I don't think that's a good look for a major league promotion as much as the UFC is, and where you're trying to take the sport. Like you'd never see the NHL be like charity for some low end player that just came up from the minors or anything like that. It's not it's a bad look, and it just every time they do it, it's just gonna be, why aren't you paying your fighters more?
Yeah, really, and like it's like the whole they upped it to 75 grand the bonuses, but now it's back down to 50. Why couldn't it have stayed there? You know what I mean? Or just get rid of the bonuses entirely and just pay the athletes more, like we talked about, like something they can guaranteed income. So it's been ongoing for years and years and years, and it's just a sport that it's in that weird position where you can't really. It's not like in an NHL or NFL or anything like that yet. Anyway, maybe we'll see if it does get there, but I don't know.
With shit like this, there's no way it can get there. Honestly,
no,
you can't get there when you're like. This is a year where we've had a lot of talk about fighter pay, whether it's John Jones, Francis Ngannou, and now just how they presented this bonus to Cheyenne. Like, she deserved it, don't get me wrong, but they're like, we're doing you a favor. Like,
it's just everybody wants more money, right? Obviously, that's the whole thing. But when you know how much the company you're fighting for is making, and you guys are only, and as a fighters, you're only getting, was 18%? Of the
has to be something like that, yeah.
I think it's at 18%. I believe that's what they said. And your only guys are taking home, less than 1/5 of the money that this place is generating. And without the fighters, there's nothing. I get it. Without like the promotion, the fighters wouldn't be fighting. I get it. So it goes hand in hand. But there should be a more equal pay there. Like we said, the NHL and I think the NBA. I think they're at 48%, something like that. What they get in revenue. So it needs to be higher, definitely higher than what it's at.
Well, that's the other thing too, is like at least those players, part of the TV deals or whatever, they get something because they have a union. Where MMA, it's like it's just the UFC is going to get the money from this ESPN deal or whatever rights service that they have or whatever big deal they sign. And the fighters aren't going to see any of this. I mean, they signed this bajillion-dollar deal with this crypto company that you see on their chest. And the fighters see zero of that.
That's, man, you know what I mean? Like that's right there. It's like, it's just like the Reebok Venom thing. It's like, so you just took away another avenue of income for fighters. And you say you're going to, you give them, however much money compliance pay for when you're in Reebok or Venom. But now this crypto, like it's on there, they're not getting anything from that, but yet they're walking out and giving promotion for this organization, this business, whatever it is, not getting any more money for that, which is not cool.
It's just the state of how it is right now in the UFC. Like, Bellator, I think you can still have your banners, your fight banners, where you can hustle and get your sponsorship money. I know Olivier Aben Mercier kind of did a thing where he had a crypto thing on him, but you could donate or scan the code and he would receive some money if you tipped him or whatever. And I know some fighters will maybe try that, but in the UFC, it's just do as you're told or don't fight in the UFC, which I guess is why you're rooting for promotions like Bellator and PFL, because I know everyone's be-all end goal is to be in the UFC because of where they're at, but I think there's just right now as much talent in Bellator, PFL, other there's other opportunities out there where I just don't think people need to just tunnel vision UFC.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you'll see that more and more. And there's just too many good fighters now, you know what I mean, to just be in one promotion. You know what I mean? They're all over the world, and there's just so many killers, man. So there's no reason why these other promotions can't, just be, have as deep a roster. I think and you'll see that as time goes on, and money talks too, man. That's the big thing, right? It's like, everybody, the UFC was like the pinnacle of the sport coming, in North America. And that's what, people hear that, you hear about fighting, they think of that. Sure, 100%. But like times are changing, guys are getting paid more elsewhere. There's been fighters that left UFC, went to Bellator, went to another promotion because of financial opportunity, right? So it's like you're gonna see that more and more, I think.
I think so too. Like I've been dialing in on Fight Pass from like MMA back in 2007, 2008, where you had a lot of options. You had Elite XC, you had Strike Force, you had WEC, when they still had some of their upper weight classes. I know that was still owned by Zuffa, but still there were other opportunities, other places. Like Dream was starting up in Japan at that point. So there was like a full landscape out there, and UFC was running less shows. So you wanted to be more active, you'd go out there. And I know UFC runs a show every weekend now, but I think there's a lot of other places out there. And just what the landscape is of how many top regional promotions there are too, like a Cage Warriors. Yeah. If you wanted to go to England, Japan has Ryzen and One. Like there's so many options out there that I don't think you need to just pigeonhole yourself straight to the UFC.
Oh yeah, man, 100%. That's why any future fighter coming up, whatever your goal is, that's cool. But like keep your options open and don't just solely fixate on one place, because you got to think of I know it's again, like you're coming back to you want to go here because of this or because of that, because of the name value. But, the name value is not going to make a living. You know what I mean? So that's one of the most important parts of this. I know people always, it's not about the money. Sure, I get it. But at some point it is, you can't do this for free. You can't do this for peanuts. You got to make a living at this, and you literally put your body on the line for it. So you need to make as much money as you can while you can. So
yeah, exactly. You can't MMA forever, right? Like you gotta, if you don't want to have a job or something after your career, you gotta make the most while you can. And there's all these other places out there that are willing to pay top dollar for some solid prospects, some solid name values right now. And I think there's this big lawsuit still with antitrust with the UFC. Like we'll see what happens with that. Maybe spreading the pool more open for fighters and equality, which I guess is what everyone wants in the long run.
Yeah. I don't know what's happened with that. It's things like that take 100 years to complete.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I like the UFC. I'm a huge fan. You know what I mean?
Me too.
But it's but as a fighter, I'm coming from the opposite end. You know what I mean? I want more equality for the guys and for the girls, you know what I mean, and a chance to make as much money as they can, not just your top tier stars too, so somebody that's just getting in and trying to make a living doing this. And I know personally how hard it is, man. It's tough. So yeah, I think that's my biggest setback with that is just trying to I know money's going up and whatnot, pays are going up, of course, and as they should, because everything else in the world is going up. So it's you can't really make that argument. It's like any job, minimum wage has gone up, you know what I mean? So you can't compare 2010 UFC to 2021 because the prices have rose with the economy. So it's it just more money for the fighters, man. I'll always be for that, right?
I think anyone should be for the fighters. I mean, it's the fighters that are the success of these promotions. And it's just, we've heard too much negativity about, lack of pay or, the stars wanting more money to help, that they deserve because they're stars and whatnot. But we've also heard way too many stories of, I don't have money to train for my fight camp and I'm in the UFC or a top promotion. And I don't know, it's just, you can't have stories like that when you're supposed to be the world leader in mixed martial arts.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's I get it if you're you're fighting on the regional shows and you're making, nothing to fight and you're just trying to, do it. And I've been there, you know what I mean? And I've always had a part-time job or another job in a while I was doing it. But yeah, when you sign with the, biggest organization in the world, then, there should be it should be like signing with the NFL. I should be like, man, I made it. You know what I mean? I'm good. I don't have to worry about money right now. You know what I mean? As long as I don't, be an idiot with it, but there should be some relief there. You know what I mean? And there's not you sign and you get hurt and blow your knee out in training for, then you're out for another year. You're not getting anything. You know what I mean? So it's that needs to change.
Yeah, there's a lot that needs to change. I feel like every time we hear something about this, we'll have a discussion on it because I think it just still needs to be hammered home that these fighters need to be paid more, and especially a top tier promotion like a UFC or a Bellator. I mean, we haven't heard many of it cases about Bellator. I think Bellator pays their fighters fairly well, though. I feel like, with the sport growing and their success growing, they'll continue to change. And I know the pandemic hurt a lot of things and stuff like that, but you can't use that excuse that much anymore, especially when you're the UFC and you've gone public with your owners Endeavor and they're like a bajillion-dollar company. And these fighters can see that in the stock exchange and, have to wonder, well, where's some of my cut or improved cut? So.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? It's, and I know, COVID sucked for everything, but this was ongoing far before COVID, right? So it's just, it's still going.
Well, Josh, as we move on, there is a UFC pay-per-view this upcoming Saturday, UFC 265, where, we talked about the silliness that this interim title fight is for the heavyweight title of Derek Lewis, Cyril Gane. But all in all, at least them booking this fight with, maybe that name value of a title's on the line helps them because they lost their co-main event of Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena because Amanda Nunes contracted COVID. So she's definitely out on the shelf. But hey, we're still going to have this interim title fight that we don't ever need to have.
Yeah, we've talked about it on here. I just don't get why this is an interim. They're just trying to say fuck you to Francis, I imagine, and say, see, we don't need you. We can move on without you type thing. And he's just kind of sticking to his guns and wanting more money. But yeah, man, the guy just fought. He beat Stipe. What was that, a few months ago, 3 months ago?
That was in March. But to say that we need an interim title for he's not hurt.
No,
his bank account is the one that's hurt.
Yeah, I mean, to be the UFC heavyweight champion, the biggest, baddest guy, you should get your money, man. So yeah, I think this was just a ploy to say kind of is a fuck you to him, and just maybe a pressure tactic to say, we're going on without you type thing. We'll do an interim and then whatever, type thing, and just kind of be strong with your hand, and we'll see if they are bluffing or not, and if they keep this going or however long this negotiation process goes.
Well, the thing for me with Francis is, one, this is a generational heavyweight talent that I can't believe the UFC is blundering because he's asked for some more money. I feel like if they're going to give anyone the more money, it'd be a guy that's their heavyweight champion, one of their marquee divisions. Two, if he were to, per se, still fight this, they're just going to add more time on his contract and whatever, and it's going to hurt Francis in the line. And the UFC is willing to do that because time is undefeated. So that's just the unfortunate thing. So I don't know. I feel bad for Francis. And just the type of guy he seems, he's going to stick to these guns as long as possible because the only fight he wants is with John Jones, who's also having a financial dispute with the UFC. Yeah. So the UFC's kind of shooting themselves in both feet where they could have an amazing title fight, but they're not. But instead, we're here with, don't get me wrong, a fight that is worthy of being a upper tier fight in the UFC. I don't think we need the title. I think these guys could be a title eliminator, and you're still marketing a show in Houston with the guy from Houston, Derek Lewis, on the card in now the main event.
Yeah, exactly. You did not need to throw an interim title in here because, especially the amount of times they throw those in there, man. Now it just people don't even give a shit about them. I mean, they just become kind of desensitized to this thing, and it's whatever. So that was not needed. You could have definitely had them as the main event and title eliminator, like you said, and winner will get a title shot eventually against Francis or whatever. As far as the pay thing, you could have had Francis versus John Jones, and you tell me that the money that you would have agreed to or come to an agreement with to pay both those guys, you would not have made back. There's no fucking way.
But you made it back double, I think.
Yeah, I mean that. There's no way that you would have lost money doing that.
No,
I just don't see it. I don't know all the money behind it, so I can't say for sure. But I just don't see it happening. I mean, I think that was something that would be one of the biggest fights ever. You know what I mean? This dominant freaking savage looking heavyweight champ now that's from the pits in Africa that kind of made his way here, and now he's knocked out Stipe, and then of John Jones, the most dominant light heavyweight of all time, moving up, putting on size. That's huge, right? So, but we're here now, and we got this card, which I mean, it's an interesting fight with the Lewis and Gane. I don't know. I could see it being like a Gane just kind of doing what he did with Volkov.
Volkov, yeah.
Just kind of moving, using his athleticism because he was very light on his feet for a heavy guy. Where Derek Lewis is going to kind of stalk and wait and obviously look for that big knockout shot. And Gane could just kind of play on the outside and just kind of pepper him with stuff. And I think, he can get away with that and get the victory as long as he just doesn't get clipped with something. We've never seen him in real trouble either. So we don't know how he will deal with that kind of adversity, especially with somebody that hits like Lewis. But I mean, it's an interesting fight. I'm a Lewis fan now, and that guy's won me over. He's so funny, right? So I'm cheering for him, man. I want to see him do well.
I think an interim heavyweight champion, Derek Lewis, would be very entertaining, and there'd be tons of social media or video posts with the UFC about him. I'm leaning with Gane because I thought Volkov is one of the most durable, challenger fighters he's ever faced, and he kind of made it look easy at times with just his athleticism and picking his spots and just fighting smart. That's what he does. And Blades fought a good first round against Lewis back when they fought. It's just you can't just stick your head in there going in for a takedown because the power of Lewis is just too much, and you're going to be looking up at the lights wondering how you got there. But I don't know. I'm looking at Gane to win this fight. But if you actually look at the main card, Josh, it's a really good card, especially if you're a diehard fan. It's just, are you willing to pay $70 for a card that lost now a co-main event with Amanda Nunes in it? But I don't know. I kind of wish they moved the Faizav Bobby Green fight up, but we do get two good bantamweight fights on this main card with Song Yadong, Casey Kenny, and now Aldo in the co-main event.
Yeah, man. I think that's the right Aldo versus Pedro Munoz, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one, man. Really good one. I'm really looking forward to that one. Munoz is no joke. Durable, tough, powerful, good everywhere. Very hard to put away. And then Aldo's just a legend, man. I cheer for that guy anytime I see him on there. He's just been watching him forever, and it's a tough fight though, man. It's hard to. He's got to be smart with that one. I don't know who to pick in that, to be honest. I'm going to go with Aldo just because I wanted to, but I don't know. And then Song, obviously, training with Song. I know how good he is. But Casey Kenny's just one of he's like a tough, gritty, durable guy that's good everywhere too. But I think Song will be too much for him, I think.
Ooh, that one's tough because he's been, on such a roll, and his last fight is a loss, but a tough decision loss to Dominic Cruz, who's arguably the greatest bantamweight of all time. I don't know. I'm
coming off a loss too to that Kyler guy.
Yeah, Kyler Phillips. Yes. Yeah. But I don't know. I'm leaning Kenny in that one, though I know Song's a solid fighter as well. But Munoz and Aldo, I think it'll be a good competitive fight, and I'm with you. Just for WEC forever, I want Aldo to win, and still making waves at 135, the weight class where we all thought there's no way he can be successful at this weight class, but he's proven us wrong. He's looked good against Jan. He's coming off a win against Chito Vera, so why not? Let's root for a good story to come out of this show, and Jose Aldo to find a way to get a big victory here.
Yeah, man. And I seen a meme the other day. It was funny again. I was totally like, oh my God. It said, I still will never get over understanding how that TJ Dillashaw is older than Jose Aldo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, that's true, man. I guess it's just, who knows how old he really is with these Brazilian, there's no, who knows? Maybe he actually is his age, who knows? But it just seems like he's way older because we've been watching him for so long. Yeah,
since 2008 when he made his WEC debut, and then was, running through, Cub Swanson in 6 seconds in a #1 contender fight and beating up Mike Brown. And the Aldo fights, and then just that UFC first run as the first featherweight champion. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for that. I think there's some, as I said, there's some good fights on this card. And when you kind of go doom and gloom on a pay-per-view, the card always ends up delivering, kind of what we saw last weekend with the Fight Night card, where I don't know how good it's going to be, but then the action and the fighters always show why they're the best athletes in the world and put on an entertaining night of fights.
Yeah, I mean, it always ends up like that, usually on paper. Sometimes it pays off, and sometimes on paper it's amazing. You know what I mean? And sometimes it on paper looks great, and it kind of not the greatest. And it's just kind of luck of the draw. There's no really magic to it. It's just kind of what happens that night, and it could be a good one, or maybe not. We'll see. It should be good though.
I think the most interesting fight, other than the main event on this card, though, is Vicente Luque, Michael Chiesa.
Yeah.
This is a real make or break fight for both guys out here at 170 pounds.
That's a big one. I like that fight, and you know what each guy's going to want to do, right? That's what I like about it too. Chiesa is going to want to get it to the mat, try and strangle this guy. Use his jiu-jitsu. And Luque is going to look to keep him on the outside, box him up, man. So yeah, that's a good one. I think if Kiesa can survive that first round, I think and if it can get a hold of him and just wear on him, make him carry his weight, just really get in his face, don't give him that much space, then he can get this win. But that's Luque. I mean, look what happened with Woodley. Woodley came at him like a madman, hurt him early. Luque kind of regained his composure and then ended up finishing him. So he's definitely never out of the fight for sure.
Michael Chiesa's had himself quite an interesting 2021. Like, he had a win early in the year against Neil Magny. He's called out Colby Covington, and I expect if he beats Luque, he makes that call out of that fight to at least put himself in the public's mind after the Covington and Usman 2 fight happens in November. But I don't know if you've watched many of, whether it's, him hosting on these UFC shows or some of these LFA shows he's done. He's become quite a broadcaster, one of the most natural guys that I'm like, you've got yourself a career set up after fighting. And he's just an excellent analyst, one of the best out there, just a natural on camera.
Yeah, good, man. Good. I put him in there and don't bring in that piece of shit, Stephen A. Smith.
Well, Stephen A. is not coming for a long time unless the UFC feels
never again. Never bring that guy. Put in a guy like Michael Chiesa that understands it and is still good at the job.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, that's, I think, the most intriguing, especially for title implications at 170 pounds, because we know the next title fight is going to be with Covington Usman 2, but Chiesa's kind of on the tails of getting in there. Maybe, you make a Chiesa Wonderboy Thompson fight or something like that. If it gets the win. Or
a Burns, Wonderboy. I mean, if Wonderboy, that would be a good fight for him to come back and try to get a W off it, because, Gilbert Burns just kind of squashed his plans there for a title shot, because I think Wonderboy would have got the shot if he had got the win, because he hasn't fought Usman yet either. But yeah, I think a win like that or a Burns would definitely put Chiesa up there for the shot, man.
Yeah, so that's this upcoming weekend, and we're getting into a lot of the big booms of some of these MMA shows coming up. We've got a pay-per-view this weekend, just came off the biggest Bellator show. And we had for a regional show, this ex-MMA show, Josh. I don't know if you saw any of it, but just the name value on this card, these ex-MMA shows, they deliver the names. Let's just say that. Will Brooks was on there. We're coming back, former Bellator lightweight champion. If you want to continue the WEC forever trend, they had Frank Mir as the color analyst. So always like to hear that. Ben Saunders, Ramsey Ninjim was the main event. We had Kyle Bochniak, Marcus Brimage as the co-main event. Just a lot of talent on there, and I'm always impressed with this ex-MMA stuff. I don't know where they're finding the money to put these on, but for a regional show, these are fantastic, and I love them whenever they have their next one.
Where I've heard of it, just namesake, because there used to be an ex-MMA in Quebec.
Yeah. I think they bought the name. I think they just bought the name.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And because I think it was run by some bikers. In Quebec, if you know what I mean. And but where are they based out of? Do you know?
I'm assuming they're based out of Florida. Their first event was in West Palm Beach. This event was in Greenville, South Carolina. So at a pretty big venue too. But hey, they take their time. the first show was in January. They have one here at the end of July. You know, if they have another one at the beginning of next year, I'm okay with that. If they space it out, build up their funds to get name value on these cards, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I mean, it'd be nice if they did, start of the year, mid-year, end of year, if they get another one before the year's out. But yeah, like I always say, I think the more shows the more promotions that there are for fighters to fight on, especially ones that are willing to bring in some good guys and pay some decent dough, that's great. I just seen Cage Warriors do the first show in the States.
Did you see how it was set up, Josh? It was unbelievable.
I know,
it looked like a venue from Tekken.
Yeah, my manager was there, and I seen his stories, and it looked fabulous, man. Like at the San Diego, obviously super nice weather, outdoor, great setup, like under the lights. It looked good.
It was an awesome event just in terms of that, and it was definitely a sucker punch MMA kind of sponsored event with Angela Hill, who's fighting this upcoming weekend in the UFC, but she was an excellent color analyst as well. Same with Jens Pulver. Like, more promotions. Use Jens Pulver. The guy's been around forever. He knows everything to know about MMA. He's forgotten more about MMA than most people will know about MMA. Yeah. Please use Jens. But yeah, and Cage Warriors said they're coming back to do a show in October. They want to do like 6 shows in the States. So they're really trying to build up that US market. And why not? Like, if the market's there, they want to do them in San Diego. I mean, San Diego's a great base for MMA, but also a market that's hurting for sports since they lost the Chargers a couple of years ago.
Right. Yeah, man. I'm all for that. They run a great show in Europe. So bringing it here, and by the looks of it, looks great, dude.
It looks so cool. Like, if you want to do an MMA show out by like the docks, that's how you do it. It looked amazing. It looked like out of a video game every time they had the overhead shots. So that's just what's the exciting thing about MMA. Just like a Cage Warriors coming over here, or these ex-MMA shows, just showing there's great talent everywhere, and more fighters just get on one of these cards and you'll get a look.
Yeah, man, and especially an outdoor event. I think it's risky.
Oh, for sure.
But a place like San Diego, I mean, I'm sure the chances of rain on that day is probably pretty damn slim, But yeah, I've never done it yet, man. I've never fought outdoors. That was always something I'd like to try once. You don't really see shows that often outdoors anymore, right? So, but it'd be kind of cool, I think.
Remember when Bellator did an outdoor show at like Talladega Motor Speedway? And it was like technically the largest crowd to see MMA, but it was there for the NASCAR race.
Did they really? When was this? I don't even remember.
It was kind of like one of these shows they put on to like find talent, but there were like 3 fight cards. But it's some of those MMA shows outdoors. It's like when the sun's out there and the mat's just like frying bacon. Right, it's like just take the fight to the ground and just burn the man's back.
Yeah, I think that's why like it'd be better at night, right? Like just do it at night with the lights. Then it's like that's good for everybody. It's not too hot. You can see too. It's not the sun in your eyes and shit, but yeah, you always run the risk, man, of weather.
Yeah, weather's always a gamble, especially. But you know what, Cage Warriors, it worked out. It was an amazing event with some good talent on there as well. Kyle Stewart, who just fought on the first XMMA show, had a big win in that card. There was a couple good.
Joseph Morales, my buddy from Alpha Male, got the win out there too.
Yeah, a lot of those Alpha Male guys looked really good too on that card. So I don't know. I'm excited to see what Cage Warriors does the next time they come back, and good prospects on the XMA show as well. Like I said, Will Brooks. I mean, that guy hasn't fought in forever, and it's nice to see him.
Yeah,
it's nice to see him get a win and see if he can make one more run at a Bellator or a shot back at the UFC.
Yeah, that guy's UFC Bellator. I think he fought with World Series too at one point.
He did, yes.
Yeah, so he's been.
I think it was originally PFL.
Was it PFL? Yeah.
Yeah.
PFL. Regardless, he's been around in all the top tier organizations. So he's a vet, and he's done it all.
He definitely has done it all. And Josh, we've done it all covering this event, this weekend in MMA. And before I let you go, as always, you mentioned your great memes you saw. Where can we follow you on social media so we can see the great memes you share all the time?
On Instagram at Gentleman J Hill, man. All
right, Josh. Well, thanks for spending the last bit of an hour breaking everything down. We'll be back next week to break down all the happenings from UFC 265 and all the news in mixed martial arts. So stay with us for next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Peace out, everyone, and have yourself a good rest of the week.